Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Bros Who Knows. Irrefutably authentic. We see ourselves as a different kind of podcast. We come to you today on the 3rd of January. We hope your New Year's off to a good start. We had originally, Rich and I, talked a lot about doing something today on relationships. We talked a lot about doing something today on depression in men. And then, last night happened. And we just felt like we really needed to have a conversation about what took place last night in the NFL, because beyond the fact that we have a young man whose life is really in peril right now by all accounts.
Is he in critical
Critical condition, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Critical condition. And I guess, Rich, I saw a cardiologist this morning who said that the definition to be in critical condition is that your vitals aren't normal, that you're unconscious, or that you are sedated and you have assistance in breathing. And my understanding is that Damar Hamlin is currently sedated and has a breathing tube and so on. So he's, obviously he's in some rough shape. So,
Yeah. So we were supposed to do relationships today.
yeah,
I was so excited to do it.
absolutely.
But you called me and he said, "Listen, Rich, we have to do this." You know
Yeah.
what I mean, and I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. I'm not too happy about doing it.
yeah.
And I'll tell
I
you
hear
why. I'm not happy about doing it because this is the first that we know about of a young man
Mm-hmm.
on national TV on football that had a
That's
heart
right.
attack.
That's right.
But what we do know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, a lot of young men, period, are having heart attacks.
Yes.
And my question to you
Mm-hmm.
is, why now?
Well, I tell you, Rich, that's the $1,000,000 question, right?
Because this didn't happen before, right? I'm not saying,
Right.
that COVID or the vaccine has anything to do with this. I'm not
Right.
saying that at all. But what I'm saying to you
Mm-hmm.
is, why now? That's the biggest question.
It really is, Rich. Can I throw out? We talk sometimes, you and I, about facts and statistics and opinions. I'll throw a
Right.
couple facts at you. You and I have been talking about them too. There's no question that there is a dramatic, not like subtle, like a dramatic increase in healthy young men under the age of 40 dying suddenly of heart attacks. And these are healthy young men. These aren't men who are obese. These aren't men who are sedentary.
Right.
Right. These aren't men who got a history of substance abuse, cocaine will wear down your heart, that kind of thing. These are healthy young men by the definition and standards of what healthy young men are. And they're dying suddenly. And obviously we're not saying that this is what happened to Damar Hamlin.
Well, we don't even know what his vaccination status is.
Right, that's right. We don't.
But the question I have for you, well, actually, it's not even a question. We are
Yeah.
aware that the vaccine does cause myocarditis, right?
That's right.
Okay, and so I think at this point we got to reevaluate how we assess our the people that's on sports teams. I think they should do an evaluation on their heart, some kind of like echo,
Yeah.
something to figure out if there's a underlining of myocarditis at this point.
I tell you, Richie, I think that's brilliant. Right? And I'm
Right.
not just blowing smoke.
No, I know. I think
Right?
that
I think that's brilliant.
we have to, because too many. I'm just you're hearing these young kids dying every day. I'm hearing about a young, and why is it just men? I don't hear that many women dying of.
I looked up some numbers on that, and apparently this under 40 group, there's a lot of healthy women too.
Really?
But there
We don't hear
seems
about
to
that.
be a greater, and I think maybe this is it, there seems to be a greater spike in young men. And you asked that question about why is it happening. Here's one of the things that, and again, I'm not trying to do a disservice to Damar Hamlin and his family and the people who love and care about him. I'm not a medical doctor, right? I'm mental health. That's my thing. That's my specialty. But I am an educated man, and there's an interesting phenomenon that I don't believe has ever happened in the NFL, but it has happened at the collegiate level, and it happens at the high school level. It happens in contact sports, or where there's a projectile, where there's a sudden, blunt shot to the chest cavity, And if you watch the video from last night, which we're not going to show, you want to look it up, you want to be a noodle necker and look up something like that, feel free. But out of respect to everybody, we're not going to show it. We're not going to show a guy having a heart attack live on TV. That's not what we do. That's not our glorification. Our glorification is try to educate you, inform you, and hopefully you put a smile on your face.
Oh,
from time to time,
bring
right?
up some things that you haven't thought about.
That's right. So just to follow up on it, you look at T. Higgins, who lowered his helmet, and even though Damar Hamlin has his shoulder pads on, which has some chest protection, it's a sudden, and football's violent, and boom, and there's not a syndrome, but it's sudden impact to the chest. I looked it up today. It's called commotio cordis.
Okay.
And again, what that means, and that's scientifically and historically proven, is that blunt. And like you and I were talking about this morning, there's been baseball players who've taken a baseball and had a sudden heart attack. There's been people in martial arts.
We're closing our eyes and we're throwing dots at the the dot board. I'm telling you, that's one of many things that could have happened.
That's right. But one of the things that we're not, at least, and I've been following it since last night as a caring human being, as a coach. And I also work with athletes and have worked with athletes at the highest level. And my phone has been off the hook as early as 5 this morning, just people wanting to talk. And what I'm not hearing, and maybe it's because of the speculation, which I respect media for not speculating, but I haven't heard a lot about this sudden impact trauma. And I remember when I saw the replay last night, a friend of mine actually says, Jeff, turn on the TV. This is amazing. Amazingly sad, and I saw that impact. I remember thinking, I wonder.
I saw the impact too. I wasn't. People got hit harder than that.
Oh, no question.
So it could be the way I'm telling. It could be a direct hit on
the right way.
The right way. Yeah, I'm telling.
Apparently, what it does is it impacts the thing that controls the beat rhythm,
right,
and shuts it off. It's like a light switch,
right,
and it is fluky. If that's
the case, then that's a natural phenomenon, though. That's something that you can't really. How are you gonna fix something like that?
Absolutely,
because when you're dealing with contact sports, it's contact. You know what I mean? So
what I loved about last night, as far as the response to it, and I heard a lot of pro football players say this, both current and retired. We're people. We're people first. We entertain, we put on the pads, and we hit each other really hard. But at the end of the day, we're people.
Well, it's a
and
contact.
It showed.
It's a contact.
I think it showed the humanness of these men behind the face mask.
Well, when you have a team, the thing about having a team is that you work together. Mm-hmm. And you care about each other. You're a family, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So when one person gets hurt, it doesn't make it, even if it's not your team, you feel for that person.
Absolutely.
And they're good people. I'm talking about, they're just, they're competitive. They want to win.
And they're doing their job.
Yeah, they're doing their job. Now, that being said, are we doing our job?
Right.
To protect them? That's the question. That's another question. Because we have to protect these. We have to protect them, too.
What stood out to me, too, last night about listening to, in particular, Ryan Clark, who damn near died of an injury he had on the football field, subsequently to an injury he had on the football field, talking about that we are so used to, as consumers of NFL football and players of NFL football, seeing that cart roll out to the field, right? And there's a blown out knee or there's a head injury, and I'm not minimizing those, but there's an injury, and a player leaving on a cart and a thumbs up, and 5 minutes later, they put their helmets back on and they play like nothing happened. Last night was different.
Well,
last night was different.
Again, when you have something, I'm sure that every young man, who's an athlete, there's something looming in the back of their head.
Yes.
That there's other young athletes, or young people that are dying suddenly, all of a sudden.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm talking about at this point. I think, like I said, this is the first one, so we have to see. We have to see. I'm talking. Well, if it happens again, or if it happens, this is the first one, so we don't have that much data,
right,
to make a logical explanation of this. But like I said, it's there. We know for a fact that young men have been dying
Yes.
from myocarditis.
Yes.
Okay, so when you see
Worldwide.
something like this, the first thing I thought of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, Jeff. The first thing I thought of was myocarditis. Okay, or something along that
Yeah.
lines, right?
And that's realistic, isn't it, Rich? When we find out that men are dying suddenly worldwide with no explanation.
I'm telling you, that's a little scary. That's a scary thing.
Oh, it is.
You know, I'm talking about with all this technology.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we should know at least, you know, what's causing this, right?
Yes.
It's because it's becoming an epidemic.
You know, I think you're onto something, Rich. You know, when we were talking about it earlier, and now you're bringing it up on camera about, I could see the NFL following your recommendation about when they do their physicals, and maybe they already do it and we just don't know it, but if they already do it, they're going to come out publicly about it, and if they don't, I could
That could
see
be a slippery slope. That could be a scary thing,
Mhm.
especially if we see a lot of mild cases of myocarditis.
Can you
out there.
imagine? Oh boy,
That's
can you
just,
imagine?
you know, it's a
So I,
sad-
you know, it was interesting because what I was watching last night, I tear up easily. I just do, and I'm watching these men who put on the eye black and they see themselves as warriors, and I saw something, because I know last night was historic, and I saw something I'd never seen before. And it highlighted to me why I love the fact that the NFL postponed this game, because it wasn't about a game anymore. It was about a young man who was in crisis on the field. And what I saw was Buffalo Bill players create this wall around him, not as a way to say we're trying to see what's going on. They were being respectful so that the world could not see him. They were giving Damar his privacy of going through the crisis instead of what we see on the internet, right? What we see anytime there's anything that goes on. What's the first thing people do? They whip out their phone and they take pictures of it.
Right,
And these
right.
guys, right in the middle of the crisis,
Okay,
Rich,
right.
created a barrier and said, our brother's on the field. His crisis is not your entertainment. I was so impressed with
Well,
that,
I'll tell you
Rich.
something now, and across the board, you know, you're talking about firefighters, police officers.
Yes.
Across the board, when you have a team,
Yes.
that's a powerful phenomenon when you have a team.
Yes.
Because it's not about you. And again, we talked about that before.
That's right.
When you have a team, it's not about you, but it will be. And we talked about that.
That's right.
And in this case, it wasn't about him, but it is about him now, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is.
And when you have your team, you know, and that's why I always gave police respect. I always give firefighters respect, because you have to depend on that person. You have to give them the power of your life at sometimes.
Yes.
Okay, and to give someone the power that they can have, you know, to save your life, or, you know, not pay attention to actually you can lose your life. To give a human being that power, you have to have some kind of affection there. There has to be some kind of relationship there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that relationship, okay, that's what men. That's why men. You know, and I'm not talking about, you know, women have their own thing. I'm a man, so I'm gonna talk about men. That's why men are powerful. Because we're not powerful by ourselves, but we're powerful when we unite.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. We saw a unification last night.
Oh, absolutely.
Two professional teams got together
Absolutely.
and walked off the field and told the NFL, and I'm not throwing the NFL under the bus, but they told the NFL, we're definitely not playing. Regardless of what your decision is, we're not playing. And I'm going to give the NFL a little leeway on this one. First of all, what's important is Damar Hamlin's health. I want to be crystal clear about that. I know we're on the same page there. But I also started hearing people dogging the NFL saying, well, why they take it so long? Why they take it so long? They had no precedent, right? To say, we just had a guy have a heart attack on the field.
Well, they don't know what he had at that
Right.
point. They have to figure it out.
There's no precedent.
Right.
So they did the right thing. They said, we're going to, it's suspended, and they did whatever they needed to do. Now, if information comes out that the NFL as a corporation didn't handle it well, maybe you and I'll have a conversation down the road. But right now, there was no precedent.
Right.
Sometimes there's no precedent on how to handle an emergency.
Right.
Right? There's just no precedent.
Makes sense.
But I like your point, Rich, about being united. And you know what stood out to me? And it's going to change the way I watch professional sports, and here's why. And I think this is one of those moments that might, impact a lot of people, which is why we had to talk about it today.
I know.
It's so
Listen,
popular, right?
You caught me off guard.
Yeah,
I thought we were doing relationships today.
Yeah, right. And in some ways, we're sort of still out of the relationship, but I'll throw this out.
Please subscribe to us, by the way.
Absolutely, because we got a lot more content coming. But let me throw this out to you quick, Rich. Is what really stood out to me last night, second to only to the tragedy of a young man in cardiac arrest on a public stage, and everything that he and his family's going through, is the amount of professionals, ex-professional football players, who they brought on camera to talk about it, and they spoke truth. And they said, we know that our careers are short. We know that the likelihood of getting hurt is at a great risk. We know that concussions can be lifelong. We certainly don't think about dying on the field. But then they said, I think the heart of the matter, Rich. They said, we do this because, A, it was our childhood dream. And think about how few people can do that. Mm-hmm. And I think this was most important and most profound, and I'll never watch a pro sport ever again the same way. They said, we did it for the financial security for our family. And that resonated with me. Because, Rich, I tell you, you know what I do. I coach. My risk of getting hurt there is limited, although losing a game, I get real sad. Ask my team. They'll tell you. I've cried with them. And I'm a mental health professional. I'm a counselor. I don't worry about physical injury when I'm sitting there.
Right.
Right? It's not in the back of my mind that today could be the day that I blow out a knee, or today could be the day that I get hit in the chest the right way and it stops my heart from beating.
That's
These
true.
Guys, right? And you mentioned first responders.
Well, yeah. Right. Well, so bring it back to what you just said.
Yeah.
High risk is high reward, though, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
You're not putting yourself out there, but you're not making
I'm
salary.
not
You're
doing
not
$10
making the
million a
salary
year.
of Tom Brady.
That's right.
That's again, I'm talking about. Listen, in life, depending on what you want is what you're going to get out of it. I'm talking if you're willing to risk it all, then obviously your payout is going to be a lot more.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Or, and it's one of those things where, you have to, you have to respect a person that's willing to jump and catch a ball, knowing that you got five big dudes ready to hit you,
ready to just hit you,
and then to be able to put that aside and catch that ball anyway. Absolutely, they should be making the money that they make.
That's right.
I just got to worry about crossing the street. That's easy.
That's right. But what a great point, Rich. And think about it. And this is why I say I don't know if I can watch pro sports the same again.
I
love it. But when you see the big hit,
right? Oh yeah,
right.
absolutely.
The fans lose their mind. And I hope I don't want it to become flag football. I don't want it to be two-hand touch. No. Right,
no. Well,
but
if they do, then they're gonna have to get it. They're gonna have to.
It's very different. But
they have to take away their big. If they're gonna be tag football, then that's it.
I hope last night. You know what I hope last night does?
What?
I'm a proud Washington Redskin fan, and I watch and listen to the post-game comments all the time, and they dog players, meaning fans and media, all the time, and they dog coaches, media and fans all the time. And what last night showed was these were human beings. These were people who are doing a job. Right. And the interesting thing about their job, Rich, is they're there to entertain us.
Right.
And yet we have, not you and I, because we have a clue, but there are people who have the audacity, who have never been an athlete, who have never risked their health, who are going, that guy sucks. He doesn't deserve a contract.
Yeah, but you need that guy, though.
Well,
you need. Listen, let me tell you something. In this world, everyone's necessary. You can't have one without the other one.
That I'll agree with.
You can't have one without that guy. I'm telling you, you wouldn't have the Patriots making that much money. You need that person to point fingers.
I'm okay with finger pointing. You know what changed for me last night?
What's that?
Is particularly for football.
Right.
They hide behind a mask. They wear a helmet and a face mask.
Protect their head, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like hide, but you can't see them. You and I are on camera right now, right? People could see us.
Yeah, they're probably making fun of us right now.
There's some people out there go, Jeff and Rich, you should put on a mask. Right? They're saying that. But the point I want to make about it is I wonder, because it happens more in football than any other sport.
Right.
They almost get dehumanized because they're dressed in this, you can't see their face. So when somebody gets hurt in football, I've heard people say it. Get off the field. Just get them off the field.
I know.
Just get them off the field.
Like I said, they're necessary. It's, it's.
Well, it gives us something to talk about, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's people who always. First of all, when you have and I hate to say, I'm not, dogging fans, but when you have a fan, okay, that never participated in any sports, okay, and they're watching someone else do it.
Yeah.
Of course they're gonna be like, they're gonna have a lot of things to say.
Mm-hmm.
That's an obvious, that's entertainment, right?
Right.
But in our view, we know how significant these players are. You can't get to be where they are if you haven't practiced and you haven't put the time in.
That's right.
10,000 hours to become a pro or something.
That's right.
You got to put the time in. These guys put the time in. They're disciplined. The guy that's laughing, he's not even probably disciplined. He's probably sitting there just
Mm-hmm.
with his friends laughing and enjoying it. But
That's right.
if that's what he wants to do, I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
Like I said, he's necessary.
And last night proved those men who put on those pads every day earn every penny.
And like I said, that's the firefighters, that's the police officers, that's when a police officer pull, and we're still talking about this, but it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
When a police officer pull a person over, they don't know who that person is.
That's right.
They have no idea who that person is. And used to be like usually, a long time ago, it used to be 2 cops in the police cruiser. Now it's like 1 cop in the police cruiser. That's even worse.
That's right.
And in the back of his head, you know what he's probably saying? I want to go home today.
Absolutely.
Think about that.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Rich, I love the fact that you have made the connection between this tragic, we'll just call it an accident for now until all the information is there, with Damar Hamlin and the first responders, because it parallels. And, we know last night
Right.
that the first responders brought him back to life.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I hope, and I mean this sincerely, I hope we never get the name of those first responders. Do you know why I say that?
Why is that?
And that's going to be controversial, I
Yeah,
know.
why? Why is that?
Because
I'm even curious on
they
that.
didn't do their job last night.
They didn't?
No, what I'm saying is they didn't do their job last night so that somebody can say to them and put a mic
no.
in front of them and say, you're a hero.
No.
Right? They did their job. I'm not going to take away from the essence and beauty of their job. In the same way, this is why I love you bringing up firefighters and police officers.
And
you know
nurses,
what they
doctors.
say?
Yeah.
After they do their job, I did my job.
Right.
When people say, "Oh, you're a hero," they go, "No, I'm not. I did my job. I did what I trained for."
And you know what? And what people don't understand is when that nurse goes into a room with someone who has COVID,
Yes.
when she goes in there, not only she's risking her life,
Mm-hmm.
but she's risking her family's life, her mother's life, her grandmother's life. If she gets sick, if she gets sick that day, she doesn't have symptoms that day.
That's right.
By the time she probably have a symptom, she already gave it to like 4, 5, 6 people.
That's right.
In her family.
That's right.
So we have to acknowledge.
I'm glad you made that
acknowledge.
connection, Rich.
We have to acknowledge
with first responders.
Yeah, we have to acknowledge. At the end of the day, listen. There's always going to be good and bad people in everything. Mm-hmm. So that's just the way it is.
I'll give you a minor example, and again, I'm not conflating at all this example with these, and I'm going to call them heroes who did their job last night and kept this young man alive. I don't know if you've ever gone into a grocery store. Obviously you have. What a weird question, right? Rich, you ever been to a grocery store? And you'll see, particularly around Christmas, maybe Easter, other various holidays, you can donate like $5 and they'll give you a card that you put your name on,
Right.
and they post it. I'm going to tell you flat out, I donate, but I don't want my name associated with it, because that's not why I donated. And again, I'm not conflating it with the intensity of last night. But you see what I'm saying? I love the fact.
Right, I get it.
Because people are saying, "Woo, we got to spotlight who that medical staff was, who those EMT members." No, we don't.
Well, you just brought up another point.
No, we don't. Let them be quiet
Right.
heroes who did their job and did their job well. They don't need celebrity status. That's not why they did their job.
No, that's true.
Right?
But I totally understand. I understand what you're saying, especially when you come to the donation part.
Yeah.
That's that's something that we'll talk about later on. When you donate, you're doing something good. Whatever they do with the donation,
That's
that's
right.
on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you cannot concern yourself with that.
And
Whatever
last
you do,
night, our
that's
first
good.
responders donated their expertise, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
They donated. And this is what I'm finding, Rich, with some of the athletes I'm speaking to this morning. Mental health professionals are on high alert today in the NFL with the NFL players' families, because some of them want to get into a group and talk about what the heck happened last night.
Right.
And some of them just want to get into the gym. That's sort of your and me, our sanctuary, right? We go to the gym to deal with our stress. And some of them are meeting, and I'm already hearing some of this, that they are saying to themselves, how can I now go back on the football field?
Right. Well, we need to find out
Mm-hmm.
what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once we find out what happened, then we might have a podcast about that.
Yeah.
If
I'll
you're
tell
right
you.
about the trauma due to the blow to the chest.
Yeah.
If that's the case,
Mm-hmm.
then that's I know that's almost like a how do you
I don't think you
how do
can
you
prevent
protect
it.
how you gonna prevent that? But
Unless
if we're
it be-
talking about myocarditis or something
Whole
along
different
those lines,
deal,
that's
isn't it?
That's a whole different deal. So we can't speculate what it is.
Right.
But once we know what it is, right, we can figure out how to make sure that it doesn't how to make sure it doesn't happen again. Like I said, if it's a trauma part, that that's a topic.
I don't know if there's a way to do it, Rich,
But everyone's
because it's
thinking
so
about this
fluky.
right now. Everyone's thinking about this right now.
They really are. I mean, this is, I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I think I'm surprised. And the reason I say I'm a little surprised is, and you and I have talked a lot about this, people have like an 8-second attention span. And, I know it hasn't been 24 hours yet, but this, the fact that a player had a heart attack on the field, even non-sports fans are paying attention to it. And I'm hoping that out of this tragedy, and obviously everybody is hoping and praying and caring and thinking about this young man and hoping for nothing but the best, I'm hoping that out of his tragedy that took place on the field is that maybe we'll start being a little kinder to each other. I heard a ex-pro player last night say, we talk about the beauty of this young man and the strength of his character and all the cool things and things he overcame. He goes, why did we wait to do that for him to have a medical crisis on the field?
We're human. That's what humans do.
Right? Why didn't we?
Yeah.
Why don't we celebrate each other a little bit more?
And that goes along with look all this tragedy is going on all over the world. We're all human.
Mm-hmm.
We all want the same thing, but yet we can't get along. It doesn't make any sense.
It's sad, isn't it?
It doesn't make any sense. And going back to the heart attack. Reason why I'm telling you, people are scared, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
We don't exercise like this young man did.
That's very
Okay?
true.
We're not in condition like this young
That's
man.
right.
We don't go to the doctors like this young man did.
That's right. They got the best
Okay?
medical care, Rich.
And but yet he's not. He suffered a heart attack.
That's right.
So what does that say for the average man? What does that say for the man who's not exercising at all?
That's right.
Or the woman who's not exercising
That's
at all?
right.
So that's why I said that this is we're behind the data right now. We have
Mhm.
no idea what this what the assessment's going to be after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like I said, I hope that it was a natural thing
Mm-hmm.
and not something that was caused by myocarditis or something like
Mhm.
that. Because if it is, a lot of people are going to be scared, Jeff,
Oh boy.
including myself. I'm gonna be scared. I'm telling you, you should be worried.
Oh, I hear, Rich. I'm
Because
with you.
here's the deal: you have COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the vaccine. I think COVID itself
Mm-hmm.
can give you myocarditis.
Seems like it weakens the heart in some
Right.
people.
But the vaccine does too. So we don't even know. I'm talking about. We don't know which. We don't know anything about it. That's another thing. I don't know why, with all this technology, why don't we have any information about this?
That's right. That's right.
So I'm talking about.
Rich, you bring it up, and I mentioned it a little earlier. SADS, sudden adult death syndrome,
Yeah, that's
worldwide.
Right.
And you're asking again the $1,000,000 question: why are so many young people, more men than women, but still a lot of women, healthy,
Healthy.
dying
They work out.
suddenly?
And what's crazy, it's the ones that exercise. So what does that mean, Jeff? The people that are exercising are dying.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that they put more taxing on their heart when they're exercising. Their heart rate goes up. Their blood pressure goes up because they're lifting a heavier load.
Mm-hmm.
So the person that's not working out, they're outliving people that are putting more taxing on their heart. So what does that mean? Does that mean that the people that are not working out, they have underlying myocarditis they just don't know about?
Boy,
What does it mean? There's a lot of questions there.
isn't it amazing how this tragedy last night opens the door to some
I think
questions?
the door was already open, Jeff. I think that, that we are living in something that's called, it's something huge. You know what that is? Denial. Okay? We brush it underneath the rug and say, okay, that happened and we're going to brush it under the rug. But the problem with this is, it's adding up. A lot of more people, every day, young people are dying. I'm to a point where one day we have to say, listen, what's going on?
We have to. We have to.
We've got to figure it out. What's causing it?
We have to. And again, here's the interesting thing. I don't feel like it's our right to know his medical reasons why he had the heart attack. I just don't. I don't want, if God forbid I have a medical crisis. Actually, I did have a medical crisis.
So if it was,
so I don't feel like people need to know.
So if it was caused by myocarditis, you wouldn't want to know?
Oh, I would. That's the thing, Rich. Is would I want to know?
Right.
Absolutely. But where I guess I land is I want to respect that young man's privacy into his own medical history. I know it happened publicly.
Right.
I want to know? Yeah. There's no question.
I would 100% agree with you on this, but I think people need to know, and I'll tell you why. If it was a natural phenomenon, I think it will put a lot of people at ease.
Oh, I agree with you.
I think, so
see,
that's the part.
Here's what I hope happens, Rich. Obviously, you and I, again, on the same page with the rest of America, that this man has a full and complete healthy recovery.
Oh, I hope
and
so,
then
yes.
I hope, but I respect him either way, I hope he goes public. His choice, not ours. I don't want some doctor while he's on a ventilator. I don't know if it's a ventilator, but I know it's a breathing tube. Ventilator, probably a different situation, so I don't want to misspeak. But it is his information. And if he chooses, and I hope he does, because if we find out it was a sudden impact injury or just a fluky kind of a thing, I think you're right. In some ways, people will be like, whew. If he says, you know what, they took a look at my heart and I do have myocarditis, or there's something else, I think his information would be valuable.
Let me tell you something. I'm gonna say this on this platform. If he has myocarditis, there's a lot of us that got myocarditis. I'm telling listen. That's just a reality that you can't ignore. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that this is a natural phenomenon, and I'll tell you why. Because that will put a lot of people at ease. Because I tell you something. Here it is. And I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna put it out here right now. If it is myocarditis, there's a lot of football players with myocarditis.
There's a lot of people.
Yes, but football players, anyone who does any kind of sports that's going to put taxing on the heart, we all got to take a look at that.
Absolutely.
And I'm surprised the data's not out there. Like if there's more heart attacks now than there was before, I'm told there got to be a way to find that out.
Yeah, and 2 years in a row, longevity in America is decreasing.
I know that's another thing. That's
right?
Scary. Listen, I want to live, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, we love going listen, I love going to the gym.
That's right.
Seeing you there, making fun of other people. They're making fun of us too.
Right now, they're making fun of us. I promise you that.
But yeah, life is. I love life, Jeff. I'm sure you do too. I'm telling we all. And even if someone is even if someone is in a place where they don't love life, I'm telling there's an opportunity to love life.
That's right.
So we got to figure it out. I'm telling figure out sooner than later because it's starting to become scary.
Well, let's state the obvious, because we're kind of drifting in a little bit about talking about prevention, even right about you're taking charge for your own health care. We know, right? You and I are at the gym every single day. We're not bragging about it. You know what we do? We do. That's what we do. It's not a brag. People have to find their own sanctuary. It's our sanctuary. And there's some wonderful side effects because we look different in clothes. It's kind of cool, right? It's kind of cool. However, I'm going to state the obvious, and I hope we reach one or two people who change their life today, which is everybody starts the new year off going, I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to join the gym. You and I see it every year. And every year for about a week and a half, the gym is packed. And then after 3 weeks, the gym has its usual attendance because people quit. And I'm just going to throw it out on behalf of me and Rich. Don't quit. Don't quit.
So
your health.
And this,
is relying on you taking charge for your health. And we're going to be doing a podcast sooner than later on relationships, and we're going to be doing a podcast on depression in men.
And that's part of the relationship aspect of it, though.
That's right.
So, and that's, I'm just going to touch base on it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of being in a relationship is, one, that you yourself have to be at a place where you're okay.
That's right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Before you even enter a relationship.
That's right.
Okay? So you want to be mentally sound, physically sound. The
Yes.
best way you can do it.
Yes.
Now, just being physically sound doesn't mean that you have to be ripped or.
That's
but
right.
Doing something for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
just for cardiovascular wise,
Mm-hmm.
you're, believe it or not, you want to be able to sit and stand when you get older.
Yes. Yes.
So when you do things for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Now you have two people on the opposing sides,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who does things for themselves. Now they have a lot to give.
That's right.
And we'll touch about that.
Oh, and we're gonna.
Oh, yeah,
It's
we
going
gotta-
to be.
we gotta
It's
go
going to
in
be
that.
several
We're gonna
several
go.
conversations.
But there's it doesn't have to be going to the gym. It could be going
Going for a walk.
swimming, going for a walk. Taking some time for yourself.
Yes.
And then try to get get your mental
Mm-hmm.
get your mental self in gear, your
Yep.
physical self in gear,
Mm-hmm.
and putting some value in yourself.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
so we'll definitely touch base on
So
that.
we're giving y'all kind of a nice preview of some of what Rich and I are going to be really talking about. And it was interesting. Rich and I were at the gym yesterday, and we were prepping for today, and
Right.
we did not talk about Damar Hamlin.
No.
Because Damar Hamlin's
Very sad.
right.
Yeah.
You know.
You called me like 10, 15 minutes before you even got here.
And I just said, Rich, I think we got to maybe take a right
You were
turn.
really upset about it.
What's that?
You were really upset about it.
Well, you know what, Rich, and
You took it to home.
I appreciate you bringing that up. Can I highlight why it
Yes,
upset me
yes.
so much? It's,
Yes.
as a coach, right? I take that whole coach-athlete relationship so seriously, and I don't know who the coach was last night. I know he was with Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who the player was. I know he was with Buffalo. And they were sitting on the bench. And they both just had tears of the eyes. And the coach just had his arm around his player, kind of rubbing his shoulder. And that was one of the moments that brought me to tears. Because, when you say it bothered me, it did. And it bothered me in a way that it reminds me of, and I know this is different, where I've watched some of my own players go through dramatic injuries. Last night's not a dramatic injury. Last night was a medical crisis, right? That's a whole different level. We're talking life and death. And I saw so many people's hopes and dreams and promises get cut short because of an injury. And last night reminded me that even at the highest level, and I don't think there's a sport that has more universal appeal than the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not dogging basketball and baseball and some of the other sports, but as far as universal appeal, and it reminded me why I coach.
Right.
And it did make me sad, because sometimes I lose sight and I focus on the W,
Mm-hmm.
and only the W. And I saw that coach with his arm around his player, and the guy was almost inconsolable, Rich, right? And it reminded me why I coach. It's about the relationships. And it reminded me of some relationships that I fell short on. And it reminded me of some relationships that I think I was my best self on. And it also reminded me of what I do for work when I'm not coaching. And here was a coach, Rich, who was consoling his player because his player was hurting, right? His brother was down.
Right.
And I thought to myself, who's consoling this coach?
Right.
Who's got the arm around this coach?
Well, see, and that you brought up another thing. So
Mm-hmm.
leaders, Jeff,
Mm-hmm.
leaders, they don't have anyone to put their arms around them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sad thing about being a leader.
That's right.
We and I say we because I am a leader.
You are.
Yeah, I'm telling we have to, right? So,
Right.
when someone always has problems, I'm not saying that this person had problems, I'm just saying, but when an individual, but we're sidestepping a little bit. So when an individual has problems, Jeff, right, and they look to someone to, for guidance or whatever, right, the person that's usually the guy, like the parent, like if you have a, mother and father, right, usually they're the leaders, right? So when the kids look upon their, their fathers or their mothers, they look and say, listen, I need you here, okay? And the parents console their child, right? But their child look at them as they're invincible, they're superheroes. Because we, as a coach, we can't show weakness. What kind of weakness can you show? Because if you don't know, Jeff, as a coach, if you don't have the answers, no one has the answers. So when you're coaching a team like that, they look upon the coach like, listen, what do we do, coach?
That's right.
The coach is supposed to, the coach, listen, he could be dying inside. He could have lost his, his favorite person or his dog. He got to show up.
He's got to show up.
He has to show up with no problems at all. Because as soon as he show a weakness, his team has a weakness.
That's right.
So your answer to your question, no one's console. You know who's going to console him when he goes home tonight?
That's right.
When he goes home that night,
his family.
His family is going to console him.
Absolutely. I tell you too, Rich, it reminded me, I had practice today at 4 o'clock. I'm blessed, and I mean that sincerely when I say blessed. I'm blessed to coach.
We're blessed that we're alive and healthy, knock on wood.
A varsity girls basketball team.
Right.
And I know we're going to have a heck of a practice today. It's our first practice since vacation, and we're getting after it. I also know that last night reminded me, again, that the most important thing I bring to my players is the fact that I care about them on and off the court.
Right.
I care about them
believe
more
that, Jeff.
than just players. And you know what I think
You're
last night?
You're a caring person, Jeff.
I appreciate that,
You
Rich.
care about the people at the gym.
It's funny, I do. And you know what last night reminded me?
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's we're living in a crazy world because that's a powerful thing, Jeff. I'm telling you, if you have people just caring about each other, we won't even be in the situation that we're in right now.
That's right. And last night reminded you and I both, as that young man laid there getting some of the best emergency medical attention he could get. We weren't looking at a football player. We weren't looking at Buffalo and Cincinnati. We weren't looking at 60,000 fans in the stands. We were going, here's a human being in a medical crisis. And I think one of the things that has connected you and me, Rich, I know it's connected me to you, right? We talked about this last time in our first podcast together, is we do care about people. And we do recognize that we can, as people, we can be kind. And we need to be kind. Can I tell you a quick story about kindness?
Yeah. And
then we'll begin to wrap it up tonight or this afternoon.
Well, I want to jump on that part.
Okay.
Good.
I had a person say to me, young person, Dr. LaCure, I want to change the world, and it frustrates me because I don't know where to start. And first I said to him, I love that about you. And I said, can I give you a suggestion? And I said, you do with it what you will. I said, it's your life, and it's your goals, and it's your dreams. But can I give you a suggestion? And the suggestion reminds me of you and me, Rich, quite frankly. I said, anybody who changes the world first changes themselves. They lead by example. They demonstrate graciousness and kindness and authenticity. And you and I, irrefutably authentic. And I said to him, so get you right first. And I said, your strength, and I think he appreciated this, is your kindness. And I said, I want you to be a kindness virus. I want you to be a kindness virus. You be patient zero on the kindness virus. And when you and he's so kind, he's so gentle, he's so sweet. What a great young man. And I said to him, you continue to spread your kindness, and you touch people with your kindness, and then hopefully they will touch somebody with their kindness too, and you become patient zero of the kindness virus. Last night, through this tragedy, I felt for a few seconds, maybe for a few minutes, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but a lot of us were on the same page.
Yes. it's unfortunate that always happens through tragedy, but absolutely. I think once people can understand, and this is why, and again, this is, we're going to be talking about this. I think once people understand that it's okay for other people to believe what they want to believe.
That's right.
It's okay.
Believe away.
Okay? Believe away. But you can still treat them with kindness.
Absolutely.
Right? We can still be kind to each other. I think that, the reason why we're divided, there's so much divide today, is because we have our beliefs. We believe that our beliefs are so right that they have to be wrong. And that's not really the truth, because, there's always two sides to a story. I think if you bring both stories together, you have the truth. I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
It does.
Okay? But as long as you have, and I'm going to throw this out here, Democrats and Republicans, Jeff, because you're going to want to talk about this later. As long as you have Democrats and Republicans, I'm going to say this again, as long as you have, Jeff, Democrats and Republicans, you're always going to have around a 50%
That's right.
divide, okay? So wherever you are on the side, no matter how loud you're speaking, there's going to be about 50% of the opposing side against you. Now, if the people really want to unite, then you got to call yourself something else.
They sure do.
And what happens is, if you did, if you took down those barriers, if you took down the Democrats and Republicans, and you just have one, just one thing, whatever that thing is,
right?
The thing will be called the people.
That's right. It's a great example, Rich.
Then you have power.
Right.
People will never have the power if you're 50% divided.
That's right.
We'll never, I'll make this very clear.
Yep.
People will never have power, and I'm putting this out there, when we're 50% divided. That's why I would never put anything politics on my Facebook.
Yeah.
You can't win.
No.
It doesn't make a
Oh,
difference.
you can lose, though.
Huh?
And let me.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And I'm going to tie in really what you said, really such an important point, Rich. We saw last night exactly the point that you're making, and can I highlight that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm right there.
Last night, you had the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals
Democrats and Republicans
playing. That's right, playing
Right.
to be the first, the top seed, right in the AFC, and they don't like each other. Pre-game, and then this tragedy happened, and together they said, we are a brotherhood. We are bigger than our teams. We are football players. See, what you just said is we're bigger than Republican and Democrats.
We're human beings.
We're human beings. We're Americans, right? There's something that
We're
bonds
one
us.
team.
We're one team. That's right.
Yeah, we're Americans, man.
And
We're
last
one
night,
team.
we
Yeah.
saw that in action because
Absolutely.
you saw Cincinnati players and Buffalo players holding hands in prayer, right? Recognizing that for now, we are together, we are united, and we are a brotherhood. Let's hope that we don't get any more, and we know we're going to get them, of these kind of tragedies that we saw on ABC and ESPN last night
Right.
to bring people together.
Right.
So we'll close it with this.
Well, I got to say one thing.
Go ahead, Rich, and then I'll close it down.
I'm going to bring another thing up that's going to be crossing, be tapping. I told you we're going to be tapping that line. So we have this other thing called race. Okay? And that can't divide us either. And I'm going to tell you why. Because of all the technology, pretty soon, and I think, and I would just throw this out there, probably maybe 5 or 6 generations from now, everyone's going to be looking the same, Jeff. Okay? So even race has its expiration point.
And its limits.
Because everyone's going to be have so many different mixed races in them in about 7 or 8 generations, it's not even going to matter. So what I'm saying to you, it's going to happen, Jeff. I'm telling you, anytime you put, we're in the United States of America, anytime you put all these people together and they're talking, they're on Facebook, things are going to happen.
And actually,
And it might not happen in your generation, it might not happen in my
But it's
generation, but it's coming.
and you and I, no one knows this, but I'm going to share it, and if I bother you, I'm going to apologize on
Okay,
camera and
all right.
off camera.
Yeah, that's all right.
You and I are both biracial, and nobody knows it. They may assume it.
Well, they know I'm biracial.
They may wonder.
I don't know about you. I didn't even know you were biracial.
There you go. I like to surprise you on camera.
You're always surprising me.
Yep. So I do think at some point we're going to have a conversation on camera about race relations, and that's going to blow the doors off some stuff because people look at you and I.
Mm-hmm.
People have looked at you and I, and they've made some assumptions, and we're going to
That's
blow.
true. That's
we're going to
true.
blow
That's
the doors
true.
off them.
That's
so I'm
true.
going to close this down like this, Rich. I think
Okay.
we had a powerful and important conversation today.
Absolutely.
I want to say this on behalf of Bros Who Know. I want to say this on behalf of Rich and I, and I want to say it on behalf. We don't know Damar Hamlin, but we know what that young man means to his family. We know what that young man meant to his teammates. We know what that young man's life meant to the Cincinnati Bengals. And on behalf of Bros Who Know, we send out love to this young man. We send out our deeply and most sincere prayers. We think about you constantly. Richie mentioned, he said, Jeff, you seem down today. I was down today. I was thinking about this young man. 24 years old is too young to have a heart attack. I also hope, and Rich and I talk a lot about hope, I hope you will take last night, for all of you who watch us, and we're privileged to have you tune in to us, that you will not take today for granted. That young man did not go to the field in Cincinnati thinking that I was going to be carted off in an ambulance. We want you, Rich and I, we want you to live your best life each and every day. I leave you some hope, and on behalf of Rich and I, we leave you some peace. Thank you so much for tuning in.